Most people who learn how to negotiate salary walk away with at least $5,000 more per year, and the ones who don't negotiate get exactly zero. Here's the uncomfortable truth. 85% of workers who ask for more money get at least some increase. The number one reason people leave money on the table is not that they asked wrong. It is that they never asked at all. And when they do ask, they usually make one specific mistake that hands all the power straight to the employer. We are going to fix that today. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will have the exact research method, the word-for-word scripts, and the counter-offer strategy that turns a nervous 5-minute conversation into potentially tens of thousands of extra dollars over your career. Here's the part almost everyone gets backwards. And it quietly costs them a fortune. Most people treat salary negotiation like they are asking for a favor. They feel guilty. They worry the offer will be pulled. They think the number on the table is final, like a price tag at a grocery store. But here is what is actually happening on the other side of the table. Employers almost always build a salary range into every role before they post it. That range can span anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 between the floor and the ceiling. When they give you an offer, they are rarely starting at the top. They are testing to see if you will accept the bottom. A 2023 survey by Fidelity found that 58% of Americans never negotiated their first salary. Of those who did negotiate, 87% got more money. The employer did not rescind the offer. The hiring manager did not get angry. They simply said yes, or they met in the middle. The fear is not based on reality. The cost of that fear, though, is very real. A $5,000 difference in starting salary, compounded over 10 years of raises calculated as a percentage of that base, can easily become $50,000 or more in lost lifetime earnings. So the first step is not a script. It is a mindset shift. You are not begging. You are completing a business negotiation that both sides expect. Now here's the foundation everything else builds on. Because if you walk in without a number you cannot defend, the whole strategy falls apart. Your market value is what other employers are currently paying someone with your skills, experience, and location for this specific type of role. Not what you made last year. Not what feels comfortable. What the market pays right now. Here's how to find it. Start with 3 free tools: LinkedIn Salary, Glassdoor, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook. Run your job title, your city, and your years of experience through all 3. You are looking for the midpoint in the top of the range, not the bottom. Then go one step further. Search recent job postings for the same role. Many states now require employers to post salary ranges, California, New York, and Colorado among them. So you can often see exactly what competitors are offering. Write down 3 numbers. Your floor, which is the minimum you would accept. Your target, which is the realistic midpoint based on your research. And your anchor, which is the number you actually say out loud first. And that anchor should sit about 10 to 15% above your target. Why higher? Because negotiation almost always moves down from the first number stated, rarely up. If you open at your target, you have no room to give ground and still land where you want. Timing is the trap that even well-prepared negotiators fall into. Get this wrong, and the best script in the world will not save you. There are 2 moments when you have maximum leverage. The first is after you receive a job offer, but before you accept it. This is the single most powerful window in your entire career relationship with that employer. You have something they want, your agreement, and they have not locked you in yet. That leverage evaporates the second you sign. The second moment is at your annual review, especially if you have a documented win in the past 6 months. A promotion cycle, a completed project, or a market shift in your industry are all legitimate triggers. The worst time to negotiate is right after a company-wide layoff, a bad earnings announcement, or when you have just made a visible mistake. You are not in a weak position morally, but the business has less room to move, and managers feel that pressure acutely. One more timing rule. Never give a number first if you can avoid it. When an employer or recruiter asks early in the process, "What are your salary expectations?" it is completely acceptable to say, "I want to make sure I understand the full scope of the role before I name a number. Could you share the budgeted range for this position?" That response alone often reveals the ceiling before you have committed to anything. This is the section most people skip straight to, and now it will actually work because you have the foundation. When you receive an offer, do not respond yes or no in the moment. Say this: Thank you so much. I'm genuinely excited about this role. I'd like to take a day to review everything and come back to you. Is that okay? Every employer will say yes. That pause gives you time to prepare. When you come back, use this structure. Start with enthusiasm. Then state your case. Then name your number. It sounds like this. I've done some research on the market rate for this role in this area, and based on my experience with X and Y, I was expecting something closer to $72,000. Is there flexibility there? Notice 3 things about that script. 1, you led with the market, not with your personal needs. Never say, I need more because my rent went up. 2, you set a specific number, not a range. Ranges anchor to the bottom. 3, you ended with a question, which puts the ball back in their court without confrontation. They say the budget is firm, do not stop there. Ask about the full package. Signing bonuses, an earlier first review, extra vacation days, a remote work allowance, or professional development funds are all negotiable at many companies, even when base salary is not. A $3,000 signing bonus and 1 extra week of vacation have real dollar value. And if you are negotiating a raise with your current employer, the script shifts slightly. Based on my research into current market rates and the results I've delivered this year, specifically the project that added X, I'd like to discuss moving my salary to Y. Can we make that happen? Here's where most people fold. And it is the most expensive moment of the entire conversation. When an employer pushes back, silence feels unbearable. Most people rush to fill it by dropping their number or apologizing. Do not. After you state your figure, it is okay for there to be a pause. That pause does not mean no. It means they are thinking. If they come back with a counter below your target, you have 2 moves. The first is to split the difference once. Only once. If you asked for $72,000 and they offer $68,000, you can say, could we meet at $70,000? That is a reasonable, business-like response that almost always closes the deal. The second move is to anchor the conversation to what it would take to revisit the number. Say, I understand the budget constraints right now. Can we agree to a 6-month review where we revisit compensation based on my performance? Get that in writing if they say yes. What you should never do is make multiple concessions in a row without getting something back in return. If you drop once, hold the line. Every time you move without them moving, you signal that more pressure will produce more drops. One important note, if an employer becomes hostile or makes you feel guilty for negotiating a fair market salary, that is itself a data point about how they treat employees. A well-run company knows negotiation is normal. Here's the payoff that makes all of this worth practicing. Salary negotiation is not just about the next paycheck. It is about the baseline that every future raise gets calculated on. A 4% annual raise on $65,000 adds $2,600 in year 1. That same 4% raise on $70,000 adds $2,800 in year 1, and the gap widens every single year. Run that forward 20 years, assuming modest 3% annual raises and a historical S&P 500 average return of about 10% per year on any amount you invest from that extra income, and a single $5,000 salary negotiation at age 25 can realistically translate into more than $80,000 in additional wealth by retirement. That is one conversation. 5 to 10 minutes of mild discomfort. The people who negotiate consistently, at each new job and at each annual review, compound this effect over and over. They are not smarter or more aggressive. They are just willing to have the conversation and walk in prepared. Let's bring it all together quickly. Research your market value using LinkedIn Salary, Glassdoor, and BLS data before you say a single word. Set your anchor 10 to 15% above your actual target. Negotiate at the offer stage or at your annual review, never in the middle of a bad quarter. Lead with market data, name one specific number, and ask a question. Handle pushback by splitting the difference once, then holding firm. And if base salary is stuck, go after the full package. Your one action this week. Even if you are not job hunting, look up your current role on 2 salary sites. Just knowing your market value costs you nothing, and it will make the next conversation dramatically easier. Now that you know how to negotiate your salary, the next thing to do with that extra money matters just as much. Because if it just sits in a checking account, inflation quietly eats it. The next video covers exactly where to put your first $1,000, so it actually works for you. That one is worth watching before your next paycheck hits. If this helped, subscribe to Plain Money so you do not miss it. Give this video a like so more people find it, and drop a comment below. What's the number one thing that was holding you back from negotiating before today? I read everyone.